Extremely special Sunday. And so I have a couple of big announcements. But first, what I want to get into is the astrology and the codes that we have going on. So, very synchromistically, the sun is on the 33.5 today. The earth is opposed to it on the 19.5. This is the same sun and earth that I was born under. And we also had the moon that's moving through Libra. It's going to be making some nice aspects, but also some challenging ones. But overall, amazing and beautiful day. We are leading into, and already for sure starting to feel this Jupiter trine the sun. Venus is pulling up closely behind it. A lot of great energy that we have, taking up a lot of fire, a lot of creativity, a lot of spirituality, a lot of good feelings as we move into some new opportunities, as long as we are prepared and open to the new directions of fresh energy, that inner heart energy, and following our inner child. Then lots of doorways are opening, and we're ready to open up to an entirely new world and beautiful new timelines. Now, for starters, the sun being on the 33.5 and the earth on the 19.5, this is where we start to really tap into deep level of projection field. The 33.5 is all around the synchronistic timing of, understanding that internally, right? Internally, when we go through traumatic fractures in our consciousness, as we're like growing up, as we go through these programming and conditioning and things like that, as we exit the ether and we're born into this world, we hit these certain levels of trauma and programming and conditioning that really start to fracture our inner energy, our connection with the entire cosmos and the collective organism, and our identity within it starts to kind of fracture and fractal out into these separate pieces or different storylines and things like that, right? But the 33 is really about, that process that we go from forgetting the truth of who we are on a very deep level, connected with the entire cosmos as a one body of humanity, still with a separate identity, or at least a separate body, but where that body starts to, as we heal these different patterns inside these different identities and traumas and programmings and conditionings, we start to remember the truth of who we are. We start to have these revelations of the divine connection and flow between everything. The 19.5 on the other side is the sensitivity to those different realms. It is the ability to be sensitive to the shamanic realms connected to the animals. It is the ability to be sensitive to the need for resources in order to, whether those resources be food or money, and the willingness to sacrifice our creative energy for solutions when it comes to feeling that connection and interdependence in all life. And that being said, I want to make this announcement now. This is an extremely special day for me and all of us here at Soul Mapping. It's been a long time coming, building up to this announcement that I have. We are revealing a 17-week immersion and reprogramming course today. This is the most comprehensive deep dive that I'm aware of into these archetypal codes and esoteric sciences, unifying a lot of these different systems in immersion type fashion. 17 weeks really diving in to be able to embody these codes on an experiential level, starting at the beginning and some more basics understandings of how these codes work, and how that this process that we're in of humanity, of unveiling the truth about our power, our ability, our sovereignty, and the path that we can take through these different maps and understanding these codes back to that deep level of healed inner child. Because that's this other level that we're diving in deep into in the 17-week process, is really being able to tap into that inner childlike energy, the process of healing that we can go back to work through these different traumas, also synergistically following these different codes, really learning and deep diving into these new languages, a new mystery school, an initiation into these esoteric sciences, and also how they relate to the astrology and these codes. I'm going to be personally getting into explaining kind of the science and spiritual pathway, or personal growth and developmental pathway of awakening through the astral weather, through these different codes and chords and the programming, and how this all works as an immersive integral path that we can use. So we're like calling all healers, all light workers, all shadow workers, any one of you out there that's on these paths to awakening and ascension and understanding and embodiment. This immersion is for you if you are trying to decode and disconnect from kind of that programming matrix, the artificial matrix, and reconnect with that natural blueprint of the cosmos and of our connection with Mother Earth and all of the celestial bodies. And on the very deepest sense, our personal source within, our sovereignty within, and realigning our auras and our genetic fields and our geometry to these more divine, more natural blueprints. It's going to be an amazing course. There's 3 of us deep diving into it, myself and Danielle and Aaron, and I'm super stoked to have this amazing team to reveal such a beautifully orchestrated immersion into all these codes. So if that sounds like it's something interesting to you, go to soulmapping.life/unveiling. We're in the pre-registration process right now, and there's some special bonuses and gifts that we have for those that are ready to pre-register. We're going to be revealing the exact launch of the course a little bit more into the fall as we get some more signups, but now is definitely the time to get in. We have these special offers, and definitely we'll start to connect with you as things develop. So highly recommend it. Please join us. There's a lot building up. This is, at least 4 or more years of hard work from all of us, and we're so grateful to begin revealing it, and even more and more years and years of study and the uniting of the systems in a very, very beautiful and unique fashion. So I highly recommend checking that out. That's soulmapping.life/unveiling. And I want to unveil a little bit more about this weekend. The moon is going to be moving through Libra, where it's going to sextile over to the 33.1 where Venus is. This is going to be great for some deep emotional connections, mental connections around value, and working through different ways that we may judge ourselves or judge, emotional connections, or what relationships are all about, and how creativity can happen in relationships. This is where we can work to really perfect these levels of value and deep connection, deep soul level connection in very interesting ways, and reorganize them and balance things that have been out of balance, especially with spiritual, sexual, creative life force in a lot of different ways. Now the moon is going to be making a quincunx over to Uranus. So, on the material plane, some interesting things can come up where we may be feeling like maybe some feelings of lack can come up, or maybe interesting things around our own personal value, and maybe not really feeling like we're quite reflected of our growing value on the material plane yet. And that's all going to be working through as we move and open up to these new possibilities over the next couple weeks, as long as we are really awake and opened to these beautiful new pathways that are open, rather than maybe staying stuck or going backwards into the old ways, stuff that we've had the opportunity now to work through for the past many months, but especially over this past cycle of the solar return. And we still have these few more days of the Lion's Gate, which is very significant for a lot more, making a lot of sense of where the vision of all this is going. There could be so many archetypal, interesting synchronicities and spiritual connections as the collective organism starts to restructure and move into these highest level timelines. Now, the difficult aspect is the moon is going to be making some squares over to Saturn as we get into Monday. So this could be like some more feeling like a little bit difficult imbalance when it comes to maybe like our status, or maybe different structures needing to realign, and the challenges coming up around that. The moon is going to be making opposition to Chiron as well. So this could be very interesting, because on a creative level, on a passion level, we're very much so seeing the way that the future can look in the directions we want to go. We've healed a lot of things and we're feeling ready to move on. But then this can feel difficult as we try and balance maybe correcting these overarching patterns that we have, especially going on mentally, maybe with important relationships. Things can feel out of balance. So we're trying to come to the balance, to that vision that we have of of our future and our healing and where things are going, and then also correcting these imbalanced patterns with our relationships, that major relationships potentially that have been transforming over the past few months. So a lot can come up, but like I said, overall, this is a really powerful time for stepping into a new future, some of the highest levels of potential I've ever seen in astrology in this very unique window that really is going to be here for just the next few weeks. So this is another reason I extremely recommend diving in and pre-registering for these courses, because this is such a unique window that we have to really manifest the highest levels of timeline within ourselves, our own sovereignty, and our dream of who we are on a soul level, really embodying and manifesting in this reality. And so I urge everyone to take this opportunity to really, because it's this opportunity that we have before things get really intense this winter into December and January and February of next year. And next year we have some major changes, which I'm going to be getting into in this course. I'm going to be going into all of the codes and massive transits that we have in 2020. I'm going to be diving into that and how we can prepare for that, how we can synergize with understanding how these codes work and aligning with these energies and tapping into our own inner source and authority so that we can navigate these things. But really now is this opportunity, that's very unique opportunity, to manifest these things in our life and enter into this new level of creativity in our heart of hearts before these things start to shift. But if you want to prepare, go to soulmapping.life/unveiling, check it out. And I really appreciate you tuning in. I really appreciate all the amazing warm birthday wishes I got, direct connections, people reaching out. Very much so appreciative of that. And as always, tap into your innermost authority, see if this feels right for you. And thanks for tuning in to the Astral Weather Report.